If I had a nickel for every time there was a character in media named N that everyone gushed over, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. But since this is my yellow character video, we're talking about the wholesome cinnamon genocide robot. If you haven't seen Glitch in Liam Vickers' indie animation show Murder Drones, it's a show about robots that murder each other. Self-explanatory enough, though there's so much more to it that I won't get into because even I don't understand the plot half the time. But it's a fun horror comedy mystery show with fun characters, great voice acting, and stellar animation. Basically in the show, there are these robots called worker drones, which are sentient robots who worked on an exoplanet called Copper-9 until the core collapsed and killed all the humans, leaving them to make their own society. Anyone who's seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains knows that leaving AI with free will on their own is a catch-22. So robots called disassembly drones, aka murder drones, were sent to murder all the worker drones to prevent uprising. The worker drones, not wanting to die, retreated to a bunker with 3 doors to protect themselves from the genocide vampire robots. One of these 3 disassembly drones is named N, and he's a bit different than his 2 co-workers. And no, it's not because he's the only male among them. Unlike J, who was cold and ruthless, or V, who was a downright psychopath, N was a golden retriever of a robot. He was cheerful, respectful, and kind of a doormat for the other 2. Mainly J. During his first encounter with Uzi, when his sensors were down and he couldn't recognize her as a worker drone, he was welcoming and kind to her. Despite the fact he has caused a lot of murder to Copper-9, N is one of the most morally good characters on this show. Actually, you can argue that N is one of the most good-hearted characters in all of media, if you ignore the murder. He's always respectful and kind to everyone around him. To his friends, to the other worker drones, when he's not murdering them, to his enemies, to his fellow disassembly drones who treat him like junk, and even to the monster baby drone that's dissecting him. N's friendly demeanor earns him a lot of respect. Everyone has a soft spot for N, except for J. Even the Absolute Solver is interested in him, allowing his team to retain their original personalities due to how N always surprises it. N is also very protective of those he cares about. This is shown the most by his friendship and eventual romance with Uzi. As early as the pilot, he is seen protecting her from V and J when they show up after her father abandons her. Almost every episode, he ends up saving her in one way or another, whether it be from an enemy attack or from the Solver trying to take over her body. Heck, in episode 7, he takes a nasty blow from the hammer Nori threw at the Solver in order to protect Uzi despite the Solver having taken her over because he cares about her. He's protective of other people to a lesser extent, but anyone he deems as a friend, or at least not a threat, he will try to help and protect them. Now, you'd think someone like N would fall victim to becoming a doormat to the other characters around him. That is the case in the beginning of the show, where he'd let his teammates treat him like junk and step all over him. Literally, in the case of J. But through his friendship with Uzi, he grows a backbone and learns to not only stand up for himself, but stand up to other people about what he believes in. It starts small with him telling Jay off in the pilot, albeit a bit clumsily, but by episode 4, he straight up attacks V when she talks about hurting Uzi. And by episode 7, he straight up decapitates what he believes is Tessa for not only lying to him about the patch, but trying to kill Uzi. It's really satisfying to see a nice guy not finish last and learn to stand up for himself. I also see N as the most powerful murder drone. We don't see him fight often, but he has some impressive fight scenes. He was able to take out V in a 1v1, saved Uzi and helped her fight Doll when V struggled, was able to stop Solver Uzi when V couldn't, and would have taken out the Absolute Solver when it was possessing Uzi if it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to hurt Uzi. I hope we get to see N fight more because he's very strong and pretty powerful. The last thing I want to bring up that you see people meme about but not really talk about is N's intelligence. For the past 3 episodes, N's been acting like the smart character in a horror movie scenario. Episode 5, he sees there's something freaky in the basement. Rather than explore it, he pieces out. Episode 6, before even Uzi can react, he shoots the baby in the abandoned hallway without thinking twice. Episode 7, after Tessa fails her one chance to explain herself, he doesn't hesitate to decapitate and kill her. While it's memed on that he avoids horror movie tropes, this is a sign of his intelligence. And also realizes that V is hiding something when she asks him to stop snooping around the past. And he knew how to calm down Uzi when she was freaking out about her transformation. And he doesn't fall for the Thad hologram in episode 2, which may not seem smart, but given how most of the murder drones fell for them and were killed, the bar is definitely set low. These are just a few examples of En's intelligence that I can think of off the top of my head, but I think I know why we don't get to see how intelligent he really is. En is usually following someone else's orders, whether it be Jay, Uzi, or Tessa, so we don't get to see him make his own decisions, but he's definitely smarter than I think the fandom gives him credit for. Overall, you can see why En is so popular in the fandom. He's a cinnamon roll with a messed up backstory and can make his hands into deadly weapons. No wonder he's built up a robot harem. Despite the short episode count, En has really developed a lot and is overall a fun character to watch. Him and Uzi are the funniest goobers to watch in the show, and I'm excited to see what happens with him next based on episode 7's cliffhanger. I know this video didn't really have too much of a general topic and turned into me gushing about En, but if you've watched the show, you understand why.